Hello everyone, I'm Caroline and welcome to my home on the hillside here in Wales. I'm going to make a Valentine's heart today. Now you don't have to keep this for Valentine. This is perfectly good for putting on a decoration any time of year. If you want to put it on your cupboard or your wall, or whether you could put it on your door, it's very welcoming. It's a bit on the country, bit shabby chic, a mixture of everything I think. Now don't panic, you see this and this is not shabby chic, it's not country, is it? It's very bright. I got this from a pound shop. It's called One Up or One Under or something. I've never seen it before. It's very much like the pound shop here in the UK or Dollar Tree over in America. And I picked this up for, yep, you guessed it, £1. Now, underneath this, I've got some things. Now, I like to use recycled fabrics whenever I can. I go to charity shops or thrift stores and I pick things up when nobody else wants them. They're £1. I get them, and I've got a child's dress here. This is a lady's blouse, and this is a man's shirt. So a bit of everything. I've got myself some embroidery floss, a button, a heart-shaped template, and I've kept all my little offcuts, and you'll see why later. So I've got myself 2 flat pieces. We put those over with the heart-shaped template, a bit of a clue there. Now, I divided these into piles, first of all by colour and then by number, because we're doing a heart and I don't want all the bows concentrated this side and hardly any this side. So by dividing them in half, it just gives me a rough idea of how many I'm going to use. So I'm going to carefully move these to the side because I don't want to jumble up my order. And I'm going to get this out. And first thing we need is the scissors. Of course, we need to cut the tag off. But we also need to cut a lot of this off. Now, you do have an option. You could wrap this around with something like masking tape and make it a bit thicker. But I don't particularly want that. Now, this is going to be very messy. And it's going to take me ages to clean up. But it's very pretty. Look at that. If you needed red glitter, chunky red glitter, this would be perfect. Now, there are little bits still left all around the place. This is so sticky and static, so you may find that little bits of red are going to keep appearing right through this video. It's all over my lap, it's all over the carpet, it's everywhere. Right, so the next plan is to bring in 1/2 of each of my piles. So we got that one there, and that one, whoops, there, and ooh, this one's a little bit more scrappy. I think that's about half. It's only got to be roughly anyway. It's not desperately important to have them exactly right. And now we'll bring back in our lovely heart. Look at that, all nicely clipped. Just like you've taken your doggy to the hairdressers. Right, so let's get tying. Now what we're going to do is really simple. We're going to tie these all the way around the outside. So first thing we're going to do is the one side. We'll start here and we'll start with a blue. Now, it all depends what you're going to be doing, what size heart you're going to be using if you make one of your own. These are about 2.5 centimetres wide by 20 centimetres long. So we just alternate them. Now I've got, somewhere on my little list, I know I've got a less red and the most I've got is white. So I'm going to try not to overdo the red early on, just occasionally miss one out. Pop one up first though. And that way then I'm not going to run out of reds. So now I'm just going to tie and tie and tie. And then I'll tie a little bit more. This is so therapeutic. Funnily enough, I found that snipping off all the tinsel off the outside of this heart, I thought it was going to drive me bonkers, but I really enjoyed doing it. Now you can, if you want to, put a double knot on these. I'm not going to. They're not going to go anywhere. Nobody's going to swing on it. If they do swing in it, they don't have the right idea of what a Valentine's Day decoration is for. So I think we'll be fine. So I'm just going to, let's move those up there. Just going to carry on all the way around this half of the heart. Right, so that's one half done. I've still got some space, so I'm not sure if I've miscounted when I was counting my piles, but I absolutely love this already. I think it looks so beautiful. I've seen lots of hearts for Valentine's Day for sale, but I think this is my favourite. I think it's a combination of everything. The fabrics are lovely. So let's get the other side done and have a look at it when we're finished. Right, so that is the heart done. Now there are lots of little stringy bits everywhere, and I like that. You could, if you wanted to, take your time. Let's clear some of this glitter out of the way. It's a mess. You could take your time and take all those little scrappy bits off, but I absolutely love them. Occasionally I've had to snip off little bits of that glitter that I missed. I'm going to stick, I've got one more red one here, pop that over there, and that'll hopefully hide that. But then again, there's going to be something covering that anyway, so it's not such a problem. Right, so what are we going to do next? Because as much as this is beautiful as it is, I don't think it needs anything else. I'm going to add something else just to give it that little bit of an extra edge. So we'll put that to one side, brush more of these little bits of glitter away, and I've got myself two. Now the reason why, I meant to tell you, the reason why I had odd amounts of the fabric was because I just used up everything on the items that I was cutting up. I didn't want to have to stop halfway through and make more, so I just went for it, and that's why I ended up, some things were bigger than others, and so that's why I had more pieces from them. Right, so I've got one heart template and 2 pieces of fabric. So I'm going to draw around this, and then another piece. Simple enough. Right, I'll run through the options with you here. You could cut these straight and then you could hem them a little bit and make them all neat and tidy. I don't think fraying the edges is going to work because they're on a curve, and that's just going to look a bit of a mess. But what I'm going to do, I'll dig out my trusty pinking shears and I'm going to cut them out using a pinking shears. Now, if you've got a very clear fabric when you're doing this, you'll probably need to cut slightly in from the line in case the dark colour shows. But I think I'll be fine with this. I can't see anything on the other side. There we go. We got 2 gingham hearts. I love gingham. It just adds that country look to anything. It just screams out country, doesn't it? The next thing I need to do is get my embroidery floss, and my nemesis of embroidery floss is threading it. I want this left as it is. You can divide it into strands, but I'm going to use this quite thickly. So find the end, and normally I would cut a shorter amount because after a while it tends to curl up when you're using it. But I'm going to go for, no, I think I've got the wrong end of this, there we go. I'm going to go for plenty to go all the way around this because I don't want to have to join it. So let's have a look. If that is halfway there, oh, that should be plenty. And give it a bit for luck too. I'm going to use this thicker needle because it probably would be a bit neater with a smaller needle, because that way then you won't make such big holes in your fabric if you've got a fabric that shows it. But I can't thread anything smaller than that with embroidery floss. I have tried and failed miserably. I'm just going to make a rolled knot on the end of my thread. And I'm going to start sewing, but I'm going to decide where I want to have my first and final stitches. And I think I'm going to go for that at the bottom. So pop them together, and if you want to end at the bottom, you need to start at the bottom. And I'm just going to do a really simple running stitch. I'm going to come from inside, and that way then the knot will be hidden. And then, about 1/2 centimetre or so in from the edge, just draw a running stitch, or sew a running stitch. If you don't want to do this, if you don't want to sew, you can get your hot glue gun and you can just glue it together. And that seems to work very well. I've seen other people doing it, but I like to, on this sort of thing, just give it a bit of a stitch. I'm not a happy stitcher. I don't really love sewing. But I think with this, it's worth making the effort. And like, my stitches are not neat and tidy and all uniform. But that really doesn't matter, because this is a shabby chic item anyway. You get away with it, which is perfect for me. So as you see, they are slightly different sizes. And I've also picked the blue because I wanted the contrast. I don't want to hide the sewing. I want it to be there for all to see. And it looks like it was really done in a country cottage or a farmhouse or something like that. It gives it that extra little bit of specialness, I think. Specialness. I wonder if that's a word. I like it, so we'll make it a word even if it isn't. That is coming along very nicely. You have a look at the back. It looks lovely on the back too. Embroidery floss can be really expensive, so I tend to buy it from charity shops whenever I can find it, and it's also worth having a look on eBay occasionally. They don't have very good prices. Mostly there are lots of people looking for it, but every now and again you will get a bargain. It'll surprise you. Any further than that, and now I'm going to pick up all my little bits and bobs and pieces that are too small and a couple of threads, and I'm going to use these to stuff my little heart in the gap that we've left. It's up to you again. I love the fact that any sort of craft is open to your own interpretation. You can make this a really fat stuffed heart, bulging, or you can make it really floppy. I mean, you could just put a single layered heart fabric on and not bother about stuffing it at all. But I fancy having one that's a little bit stuffed, but not overly stuffed. So let's have a look. Put these few bits and pieces in. Oops. Accidentally tucked the back in, but that's not a problem. Pop it out. And I think that's enough for me. Yep, I like that. So now is make sure all your stuffing bits are inside the heart. Sort those out later, those few unruly strands. And we just carry on sewing now. This is a lot easier too if you haven't got an overly stuffed heart, because then the stuffing really tries to jump out all the time. Work our way right down to the bottom. Now, if you're very careful here, you can make sure that you end up without having two stitches coming together. It just looks like one continuous stitch, if you see what I mean. Rather than have it end in there, I think it looks better if you've got a separate stitch before the end, like that. Then I go down to the bottom stitch, through the back, which you can't see, so it doesn't matter. Over it twice, so it'll be a little bit fatter, but that's not really going to be noticeable. There, for me, there are various ways of sealing off your cotton on the ends. I always like to do a triple stitch like that, and then poke the thread in, come through the stuffing and out the back, and then give it a little tug, snip it off, and then the end disappears into the heart. So there, that's not the neatest heart you've ever seen, no doubt, but it does look very country. Right, I'm going to pop my glue gun on, because that takes a few seconds to warm up. Clear away more. Oh, I'm going to be cleaning this glitter up for weeks. I can see this. Look, it's still on my hands. Let's see if I can rub it off. No, there's still some on there. I now have trousers covered in glitter. We bring our shabby chic heart back in. Now, before we put this on, now look at that. Doesn't that look lovely? But before we put it on, I want to put a hanger on because it's going to be difficult to do, and this will hide any scruffiness if you end up having a join that you don't like. So we'll find the halfway mark, the pointy bit, down there. And that is where we're going to put the ribbon. I got a lovely ribbon. I thought it's the closest I got to that blue. I didn't want to put a red because that really looked stark. So I'm just going to cut a good length of ribbon off. About there. And then I'm going to tie it onto my hoop. Now, I'm trying to decide. I can either tie it that end. Because it's shabby chic, I think I want the open ends at the top. So I'm just going to use the loop. Put it underneath the loop end where it's been folded. Poke the 2 pieces of ribbon through the loop. Pull tight. And then I'm going to tie a knot, which is going to look really casual and chic and farmhouse. Like that. And then we just cut the ends off at a jaunty angle. I do like a jaunty angle. Now I've got my heart here, and I did think it would look nice with a button on. So the choices are I could put my button there, or in the middle, or at the bottom, or off to the side. I think I'm going to put it there. Right, so out with my glue gun. Now we just need to glue this to our heart. Now, one of the problems is if you don't pull these tight, you're not going to be able to find a flat bit to glue it onto. So just give the knots where you're attaching your heart an extra tug, if you can find the ends. Make sure you know where the centre is, which is easy enough because you put your ribbon around. An extra tug too, and then on with a woods of glue from your glue gun. I'm probably being overcautious, but I want to make sure there's lots on there. And hold it down just for a couple of seconds while it cools. And there you have it. We clear some things away because it's a bit of a mess here. So you've got some options. You can trim these shorter if you wanted to. You can, as I say, take all the little edge bits off. You could even, if you wanted to, put buttons all the way around here. And then that would look quite good too. But I like the knots. This reminds me of when I was a little girl and my granny said, let me rag your hair for you. So she ragged my hair and she made lots of ringlets coming from my hair just by putting rags in my hair. So I was quite impressed with that. I thought you had to use curlers. Right, so let's have a look what this looks like up on a wall and see what you think. If you've enjoyed this video, then please give me a thumbs up, and it would be great if you could subscribe. I'll see you all next time, but until then, don't forget, have fun. Bye.